one think he's wrong. And so that's it, yeah.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Carlos Gilzine. Originally, I'm thinking from where I'm from. Originally from born Jamaican, raised in Florida, then lived for about 10 years in London, England, and then came back and went to a bunch of cities, went back to Florida, met my wife and came back here just a little bit under 10 years ago. That's a big, where am I from? I own two companies, Tech Legend IT, which is a cloud consulting company, and Live Full LLC, which my manager is helping me to set up right now in terms of marketing and advertising and websites, etc. A lot more bigger words which you'll express in his intro. But Tech Legend IT speaks for itself. It's a consulting, cloud consulting, primarily Office 365 or Microsoft 365 products. Live Full is it's more like a personal, professional development company. We do workshops, webinars, seminars about helping you to use the tools you already have, whether it's your self-awareness or your emotional intelligence, to basically develop your own self so you make better decisions and be more clear-minded about the direction you're taking in your life. A little bit about me: married, 2 kids, similar to Keith. One that knows she's a child and the other one that thinks I'm the child. And what else? I'm happy to be here. I'm glad Jerry invited me 2 times. This is my second invitation and I finally found a way to get here. I'm happy I'm here. I am big on helping people to get where they want to go. I find a lot of folks are unclear about direction and purpose, and so you live your life in a constant cycle, repeating it over and over. So with all the business I do, all the conversations I have, I like to help people to get to know yourself so you can get to know where you need to be and what you need to be doing with your life so you don't have a purpose-free life. I'm going to land it there.
How do you follow that?
Thanks for sharing.
Oh man,
Yeah,
definitely not going to be that exquisite in my expose. My name is Rod Brinson. Born and raised in Atlanta, as I mentioned earlier. Married, 3 kids. All of them are kids, and they know they're kids. One of them wants to be grown. He's 16, got a car, so now he's feeling himself. You have no clue. As far as what I do professionally, I used to work in the corporate field with customer success management for multiple conglomerates, the last being DocuSign. I was laid off in February. Thankfully, I already had a full-time, sort of part-time mission where I was scaling up my marketing business. So I'm full-time in a full-service marketing agency now. We cover everything from startups to conglomerates that need to kind of advance to the next level, whether it be with new web design, logos, branding, SEO, you name it. Any digital magnification, we focus in on that. So our latest venture has been kind of ramping up social media pages for some of these organizations and whatnot. So our target customers shifting from mom and pop to small to mid-sized companies, and that's where we've kind of focused over the last 2 months of me being full-time in it. So I'm excited to kind of grow and continue to scale. Oh, last thing, and I started doing this myself like 15 years ago. In 2021, I started to scale and hire people, and now we're like 15 people strong. So I'm excited about where we're going.
My name is Andrew Alexandre. I own a trucking company here in Atlanta for the last 6 years now. I have around 20 contractors right now. I have my own diesel shop. I do my own roadside. I have my own roadside team. I was born in New York. I moved to Atlanta in 2000. I've been married for the last two years now. Me and my wife met in high school. I love trucking. I love serving. Right now, right now I'm in the process of launching my online course, teaching about trucking, because I wanted to be able to serve people a lot more quicker. A couple years back, I did an interview on YouTube that went kind of viral, but I just disappeared after that because trucking is what I do, but I just decided to be able to come up with something to where I can teach people remotely, because people continue to ask me for advice. So I recently just started another company called Alexa Academy, and I'm launching I'm pre-launching my course actually today. I've just been in the process of shooting, writing, recording it with my videographer, just doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And that's pretty much about me right now. And so yeah.
Let's get to you, Alfonso.
Hey everybody, I'm Alfonso Savage. I'm basically from here now, but born and raised in Tampa. Went to high school with Loye. Been here for the past 30 years. I work in media management for Warner Brothers Discovery, which used to be AT&T, which used to be Turner Broadcasting, but it's all the kind of same thing. So I manage all the sports properties for all the different sports they support, from NBA, NHL, MLB. There's probably NCAA March Madness. We have a big hand in that. And I'm also married, been married for 2024, so 13 years. I have a 5-year-old boy. So like that's my drive, my kid and my wife. So that's where I kind of go from there.
Samora Emmanuel, everybody calls me Sam. Originally from New York, Brooklyn, New York, and a little bit of Queens. Spent most of my childhood, actually my teenage years in South Florida though, between Miramar, Miami, all of that. My background for the most part I would say would be within the airline industry for the most part. I spent about 17 years working in the airline industry, mostly with JetBlue. I kind of moved into the executive ranks, and then in 2020, after helping the company grow to a certain level and not getting to the level I wanted to get to with the company, they were kind of, that invisible glass ceiling, like you're doing all the right things, and we're going to give you the money, but we don't want to give you the titles that you necessarily wanted. And so I got to a point where it's like, all right, I'm getting paid enough, and I was doing some things on the side. I had a really good mentor in college who kind of put me on the real estate game early. And so like while I was moving around with the JetBlue, I was able to pick up some properties here and there, and was able to kind of get my own financial freedom by doing that. And then when the opportunity came about, and I went to one more time asking them, hey, the position I'm looking for, are you ready to give it to me? No, okay, I think I'm going to take that buyout and then venture it off on my own. So that was in 2019, 2019. And so 2020 is when I really got my launch, and I started moving into the real estate sector pretty strong. So I had, at the time of retirement, I was up to 9 properties, all rental properties, and then I started moving into flipping properties and grew the rental portfolio a little bit, had purchased properties a little bit everywhere, and was having some troubles with contractors, so I ended up moving into the general contracting space a little bit. So I have a rental property management company, I have rental properties that under that do some flipping, general contracting, and just trying to figure out how do I make all this work now, because it's a lot of learning a lot on myself, like opening all these different businesses and trying to figure out how do I manage all this in a better space, and just moving things around, trying to get to the point where I need to bring on a team, but I'm still kind of hesitant about like how big I want to grow the team and how fast I want to grow it because of the responsibility of making us salaries and all that. So, but yeah, new to Atlanta, been in Atlanta since 2020, since retirement. My family's here for the most part, my immediate family. Was married when I was 23. That only lasted about a month, but on paper for a year. And since then, I've kind of just been, just hanging around and just enjoying life.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks, Sam. Aloye, I think most of you here, but I'm a solutions architect for United Alliance. Long story short, what we do is, we look at the challenges and issues that, companies like yourself are facing, help you understand where you're going, and we work on solutions pulling solutions together that can help solve that. So executable strategy, that's what we talk about. Prior to that, I'm from Florida, born in Tampa, went to high school with this gentleman on the And a lot of Florida connections in here as well, so it's pretty cool. But I also, we were talking earlier, lived up in Ohio, Cleveland, Toledo, Ohio. Went to school at the University of Michigan, University of Florida, University of Central Florida. So, just exploring in that space. Met Dion 20 years ago in Jacksonville, first job. And we talked about some crazy things at that time. So when Dion called me about 2.5 years ago, it was funny because I was walking in for an interview, but it wasn't a question in terms of, I wanted to hear what he had to say, even though I knew they were getting ready to offer me something. And then he talked to me about United Alliance. And I said, say less, here, and it's because of the purpose that's behind what United Alliance does, which is something you talked about. You're exploring and trying to find certain things, but you couldn't get there. You couldn't get what you were looking for. And we talked about that as well, Carlos. So I'm there now. So, yeah.
Thank you, Aloy. Again, Dion Farrell, Chief Visionary Officer, United Alliance. We operate in 3 main sectors, one of which is financial services, private equity. That's really our parent, our focus. And second is management consulting. So consulting services, we focus in strategy, transformations, things of that nature. But we also infuse the financial disciplines and background. So Lloyd talked about it. I mean, we use this term called executable strategy, but we really bring strategy to life. And oftentimes what differentiates us is we like to have the accountability for the results. So we don't just come in and make recommendations. We actually jointly own those recommendations with our partners. And we stay on and we execute with them so they can see the results. So we don't walk away with the recommendation and then say leave it to you to figure it out. Our team, we build practitioners, so business operators. So that's the difference between us, people that have been in industry, various industries at very high levels, and then we bring that expertise. And then thirdly, we are just launching an education and training based company and platform. And this is where the event, so our heart, everything behind United Alliance is really in the education space. I'm first generation college graduate on both sides of my family. And our passion is really around community. So oftentimes as the world has evolved, we've gotten further and further away from communities. And we've lost the sense of deep connections, deep-rooted connections. United Alliance is really, the premise behind it is to bring those connections back, bring communities back together. We believe that every failure in the world or every success in the world is predicated on the presence or absence of community. And when you get communities back thriving and strong, you then revitalize everything else around you. And so that's really what our mission is. We are a for-profit business, but we are very much so purpose-driven in building communities. And communities start with individuals. Hence why we like to bring individuals together. And, we talk about, like, our slogan is passion for life. So I've died twice and been resuscitated. So I understand the value of living, right? And how I have 5 children. My fiance back of the room, but again, I understand the frailty of life and things of that nature. So passion for life, we're very passionate and understand the breath that I'm breathing now is truly a gift, and maximizing that opportunity. We have a purpose to serve, right? So we're all into servant leadership. So, I was co-founder, employee number 1, as it were, but my role is really to serve my team, right? And serve the community of folks around us. And then lastly is a potential to create. And we're all about, as my partner Brian, who unfortunately can't be here with us today, but he talks about creating the life we want to live. All right, so we're big into, like, we have the ability to create what it is that we want to see. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about United Alliance. I'm a world traveler. My life has been transformation and change management. I've moved 19 times. Significant moves, not zip codes, but cross country, out of state, lived over in Ireland for a couple of years, spent another 4 years between Copenhagen, Denmark, and Milan, Italy, and traveling around the region. Been 9 companies, 7 industries. So just, something blows up, they would throw me at it, go figure it out, shut this down, start this up, so a little bit about me. I said more than I wanted to, but I'm gonna turn it back over to Aloye so we can get into discussions.
Yeah, get into the conversation, right? We call this, intimate conversation, and that's what it is. We're around the table and we're talking and we're sharing. This is the second intimate conversation we've had. The first was on leadership excellence and navigating some of the corporate circles of glass ceilings, if you will, that you talked about, and what that means. We'll get into it. But today we're focusing on the science of success and what does that really mean? What does success really mean? And it's interesting. And we were talking this morning. I said, it's interesting that we were saying science of. We had talked about the psychology of success. What's the mindset that you have to have? But we believe there not only is there a science behind it, but what that means is it's something that's repeatable. You can replicate it. So what does that really mean? But before even getting into that, there's nothing but success in this room. And I'm just curious, just in terms of when you think about that and the success that you've had, what are those successes for you personally, that you've experienced? And anybody can jump in and talk to this. And how did it make you feel when you achieved that success?
I'll start. I think that success is definitely subjective, and everybody has a different definition. Everybody has different goals and weight that they put on that word. For me personally, I think I've achieved certain levels of success in every vertical of life, whether it be spiritual or physical or family, business, right? But naturally, when you think of success, there's a financial piece that's tied to that. Everybody has a mindset, speaking for myself, of goals and things you want to achieve from a financial standpoint. That everlasting, I say, quest for financial success, I'm learning that it doesn't stop, which is why I use the word everlasting.
Yeah.
I think that, right now, some of the companies I'm chasing, they're levels above me. And in having conversations with some of those leaders, I'm seeing that they're chasing companies that are levels above them. And it just goes on and on and on. So, long-winded answer to say, my success is realizing that, right? And understanding that if I want to achieve the goals that I have for me, I have to recognize what level I'm on. Understand that I'm going to be, following after people who are on different levels, no matter what I do, no matter what level I achieve. And then being content with whatever level I find myself on. That is true success for me. If I'm not wanting for something else, then I've achieved success.
It's funny, like you were saying that, like it was literally a conversation me and Aloy were having yesterday. It was about something similar to that. Like, I just remember as a kid growing up, like, my family didn't come from a lot, so we didn't, nobody in my family was really wealthy, and just remember, hey, once I get to $1 million in net worth, I'll be good, I'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't gotta worry about anything, and I was fortunate I achieved that goal, last year or 2 years ago, and it's I'm supposed to be good now, and why is it so much harder now? I got the companies, I got the business, I got the nice house in Buckhead, and we were talking about, you don't realize once you get to those levels, all right, now you retain all those things, well, now you gotta maintain all that stuff. Now it's that house in Buckhead comes with a whole lot of expenses and those property taxes and those bills, and that little apartment, that little townhouse that was so sweet. Oh my gosh, I love those days. Life was so much easier back then. But now, like the maintenance, $200 a month in maintenance and like landscaping fees and all these other things. It's just like all these little bills just add up, and it's like, are you ever really like the number, whatever your number is? You think that like you're gonna be good, and that's like you get this level now. You want more because now I'm hanging out with different people. My friend group hang out, so. I go down to Miami, these guys want to rent out, we're chartering boats and we're doing different things, and a weekend in Miami turns into a $10,000, $15,000 trip. It's like, what just happened? I was like, I was just going to hang out. And so, like your lifestyle, like as you grow, like you said, success, like what is success? It's like, I guess it's just a goal's always changing. Like it's something that as we get there, I think we always want more. So I guess success is just finding happiness in the chase, I guess.
And that's why I ended with saying, for me, I've learned to define success as being content.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to achieve more, it's great to get more and hit your goals, but if you can be content wherever you are, then to me that's success.
You know, just think about it. I mean, for me, you know, I always tell people, someone asked me a long time ago, they said, hey, why did you start your business? I said, actually, I didn't want to start my business, right? I couldn't, you know, I got pushed out of my company for various reasons. But when I started my business, you know, I had to sit down and define that actually, right? This is the science of success, because you don't want to fail. And so what made me think about success is three things. So there's three things I think about first. I define why, not the what. Okay, it's first and foremost. And why you do it will always propel to what. Okay. The second thing is, you know, how am I creating a need, right? Because, you know, you can create something in the market, but if it doesn't have a need, in my opinion, it's not sustainable. People got to need it, right? You know, and that's very important. And the third thing, when it's not in a particular order, I think that if you don't define the value before you start it, you'll get cheated. Okay, you know, realist, and I tell people in everything that you do, life is about value. Okay, I tell my daughter, I said, look, the reason why your boyfriend cheated on you because you didn't define your value. The reason why
Hello. Andrew. Felicia.
Yeah, so you got to define the value, and the value is predicated on, is indicative of everything that you do in life. There's a nuance. There was a nuance in 2023 where every single platform or union or organization was talking about how much underpaid they were. But the one thing that was very consistent with each group that would talk about they were underpaid, they didn't find their value before they were even paid. And now it's come out in 2024 that they didn't define the value, or someone depreciated their value, right? So yeah, those three things to me are very important when I go into business, and even when I talk to my clients, right? Why would your product be so successful? Why are you launching this product? Why should an investor buy this stock, right? Not what you're doing. No one cares about the what. It's 80,000 watts, okay? Why? The second part about the other thing we talked about is need. What we saw during COVID is the Australian business cycle. The Australian business cycle, if you look it up, is a trend that throughout every catastrophic event, that smaller companies that have no need will cycle off, and stronger companies get stronger. Why you think that when you look on any network television to talk about the financial markets, they're talking about the S&P 500. The S&P 500 has gained more value from BlackRock, from Goldman, from all these, because that's where the value is, and everyone else is just copycats, right? And if you look at the trend of companies that's fallen off, again, they don't define a need. So those three things I look at when assessing a business, assessing myself, when looking at trends, I take a step back and I say, okay, what's my value? Do I provide a need, right? And, you know, the other part, right? You know, what is my why to this? And those are things I think that you can repeat those three questions and always come out on top.
Oh, thank you so much, Pete. Felicia, just to bring you up to speed, we did introductions and all, and Aloy had just framed, you know, success. What is success to you? And so a few folks started answering that. So,
Quick intro.
Quick intro. I'm Felicia Freeman. I am currently just left Keysight Technologies in the diversity and inclusion space. I met Brian Taylor also when I was a recruiter, as executive search diversity recruiter specifically in the biotech and pharmaceutical space. I did that for 20 years, then went to Keysight. Not trying to go, they found me on LinkedIn, but took a package. We had some company downsizing in the technology space in January, so now just trying to reinvent myself at this point.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. You know, so for me, I wrestle with the question about what is success, because I asked myself that at one point. And I had to sit down and overview my journey. And when I looked at the plate, basically, and I saw that I scaled to 27 trucks, I had my first $2 million a year back in 2022, and a range of other things. And I was talking to God, and I said, okay, I'm looking at all this stuff I was able to reach, and families and all that, and I said, success doesn't explain all of this. I said, Lord, I need understanding for this, because success isn't the answer for all of this, all right? Success doesn't explain all of this, all right? Yeah, it looks great, and, you know, by some people's definition, it would be labeled success. I said, Lord, I need some understanding, because this doesn't make sense. Because, yeah, I have a high level of perseverance. Yes, I'm very self-motivated, but I can't reason that to success, all right? Yeah, I might have an abnormal amount of determination and faith and all that, but I said, Lord, I need understanding, because this success isn't sufficient for me. I felt the Lord told me that it was a purpose behind it all. And I said, and then I felt the Lord said, you're my purpose. The reason why you made it through this and this and this and that and this and that led to all of this, because there was a purpose behind it. So you're not successful, you're my purpose. And when I heard the Lord tell me that, I said, I got it. I said, I'm God's purpose. And you see, when I had the understanding, everything made sense to me. Because I wasn't questioning, still questioning myself, am I successful? No, I'm God's purpose. And when you know that you are operating in God's purpose on your life, you will be content. Because when you are chasing your lens of success, sometimes you'll be in a hamster wheel of discontent. And once I was able to embrace that and receive that, along with learning how to subdue, thoughts that don't belong to me by by studying the Word and healing a lot of childhood traumas and all that, it made me it was a lot more easier for me to receive the revelation the Lord revealed to me. So now I don't wear the jacket of I'm successful, no, I'm God's purpose. And when you're walking in God's purpose, you will serve people, all right? You will be content. And in the midst of that, you will elevate, higher to the vision that you had in your physical eyes. And that's where I'm at now in my life. I know that I'm still, you see, what gives me so much peace is that I'm doing a lot more things, and I'm serving a lot more people, right? And the things I'm doing in my life now, I had no plan to do it. Everything I'm doing in my life now was everything that I didn't want to do, right? And all of that supports that it was God's plan. It was a purpose for it, you know. And walking in that gives me the peace of mind of being content. Gives me the peace of mind of not having to question myself if I'm successful. Gives me the peace of mind of not having to let others' opinions influence my thoughts, because I know it is come from a lack of awareness. And as long as since I got to that point of understanding that my mindset has shifted, and my level of peace has shifted, and as long as I'm walking in God's purpose, to me that's successful. That's just what it is.
Yeah, I gotta come in on that. I'm sorry. Good. Thank you for sharing that, Andrew. But it kind of leans into what Keith said earlier. I agree with you wholeheartedly. He said the thing I find myself doing is what I've been avoiding. I did not want to be an entrepreneur. I was fighting against it. I'm on this corporate track. I'm good. I don't need to do anything else. I had my side business. It was growing. And it was growing so rapidly, it was scary. I took 3 months to truly strategize on how I could scale and redefine, hiring people and what success meant for my business and all of that. In that 3 months, I didn't come up with anything. But the strategies and the thoughts and the creative piece of trying to piece it together, as soon as I put the pen down and stopped after that 3 months, it just started manifesting. And so as I'm watching my business grow and I'm getting more and more frustrated with corporate and things that are going on, like you said, the glass ceiling and whatnot, I'm just I find myself saying certain things like, man, if I could only just work my business, man, I only think, and then all of a sudden things just start lining up. And to your point, I do believe there's purpose in it. I do believe that, God kind of orchestrates certain things to happen. But on top of that, I'm in a position to bring value to other people, other organizations, give people the opportunity to follow their dreams, to figure out what they want to do in life. And I'm hearing a common theme around the table as it relates to that. But I'm saying all that to say it wasn't about what I wanted to do, because I was fighting against it.
Yeah.
But it was always lining up. And then when I got laid off in February, I thought about it for 2 minutes, and I was like, I'm doing this full time now. I'm not going back into corporate. This is what I'm about to do. This is why I'm about to do it. This is the value I'm bringing. There is a need for this. So, great points. But yeah, I just wanted to agree with you on that.
If you don't mind, I'd like to add to the point, and I think it's great, some great points. It's interesting, and I want to add these points that I think that, for me, it shaped and molded me. Just some intricate pieces to get to that point of success. You have to have a mindset that you have to work with people you don't like. When I worked for a hedge fund, I knew and identified that my two bosses were racist, right?
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, I was actually in my, and I'm gonna share, these are personal stories. I'm gonna kind of try to keep the longest story short, right? Because I can talk. So I was we were going to a conference, and there was a CEO and president. They two owned the business, and I was very close to them. I worked the ranks, and I was in his Cadillac Escalade, and the CEO called, and he didn't know that he had him on speaker, and he said, "Ask Keith." I'm from Harlem, right? And I'm 44 years old. I'm from old Harlem. Anyone knows New York? Harlem is, we about money, right? So I never had to worry about that. And he said, ask Keith, how does it feel to be in an Escalade? And he said, hey, I got to call you back. So I went and I told my significant other at the time, and she said she was furious. She said, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "Nothing."
Right.
I said, you gotta understand who's feeding you. But when you're fed, when they give you the food, it's for you to give to other people, right? And so it's always a purpose. We talked about purpose. So we move forward, we move past that, and so and this is how I became an entrepreneur. So fast forward, we were in a meeting, and I saw that this need needed to be met, and I said, look. I said, went to the CEO, myself, another guy, so it was 4 top, I'm the only vice president, I'm the only black guy that worked there, right? And I'm one of those people that, I'm very vocal, right? So I cursed everyone out till I got to the top. God love me, because I just don't, like, right? So, and I went to HBCU. I don't claim to have a great education, right? So, I graduated 3.5 years business ed. Let me get out of here, right? I'm doing this for my grandfather. So I'm sitting in this meeting and I'm telling them, I'm saying, look, we need to do this because there's a transition in the financial markets. If we don't do this, we'll be dying in 5 years. He said specifically, I don't pay you to think. I pay you to do what I tell you to do.
Wow.
Now, I was raised by my grandfather. My grandfather picked cotton. He was a Marine. And my grandfather always told me, and I'm sure someone heard this before as well, if you don't want to obey the rules of my house, go get your own house. Right?
That's correct.
That statement resonated with me. Now, I tell you, I was making over $200 grand a year. I'm living in Atlanta. My apartment was cheap, okay? My car was paid off.
Yeah.
I was living life.
Yes.
I got all name brands I wanted, right? And I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I wasn't thinking about it. But it sat on me. It sat on me. And for a month, it sat on me. And I didn't tell anyone. I walked and I had no aspirations, no wants to be an entrepreneur. And I walked in the office and I said to them, I had no irons in the fire. I said, I gotta give you my 2-week notice. And they looked at me like it was crazy because they thought that I needed them.
Yes.
When we talk about value,
Yes.
right? They thought I needed them. And I said, I gotta give you my 2-week notice.
Wow.
So to go to this gentleman's point, I didn't know how to pray until I left my company. so I say that, and what happened was, and I went to this company, and I started my business as what I'm doing now. And I went to a company. It was a lead, and I'm gonna end it after this. I went to this lead, and the guy said, I said, look, we can represent you. We can get you to where you need to be. We can do X, Y, and Z. I know the markets. I've been in business for years. He said, dude, I wouldn't hire you if you were my last option. And I was distraught. Okay, I had a little apartment here, Lenox Road at the time. Before it was right there behind the train station. I was like, man, I gotta pay this. Because when you're making a lot of money like that, you're spending a lot of money like that. I wasn't, rotated. And I was like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I talked to, and one day I'll introduce you to him. Seth Fardman. He's the chairman of V Stock Transfer, one of the largest transfer agents in the United States. And I called him. I just so happened, I got his number. I don't even know how I got a number, but contacts through contacts. And I said, Seth, here's my idea for my business. I'm running it right now. You tell me if it's good. He said, dude, this is great. And if you can execute it, why not? And so 3 months later, I never forget this. He gave me the confidence, I'm working it. 3 months later, I had 3 contracts already signed. They didn't send the wire. The turn of that year was January, the first business day. I didn't have enough money to take my son to daycare. And my typical, movement is I wake up, pick up my phone, I look at my phone, I check my bank account. I do that every single day. And just so happens, it was full of those 3 companies sending me wires. I got my butt up and got an office that day, took my son to daycare, and you couldn't tell me no after that.
Yeah.
So again, and I don't want to be long-winded, I'll stop right there, but I just want to piggyback on what they were saying. There's a commonality, right, as to the maturation process of success and when you get there. But I think the true, the cherry on top, if I will give you, is you got to know that you know.
Yeah.
Right? And that's you, right? You got to know that you know, right? And then when you do that, when you know that you know, it's like you can go through a brick wall and no one can tell you no, right? And I think that's what it is for me.
Go ahead, Felicia.
That's what my shirt says, it's not about you, period. And it's not about me, period. And so everybody's common thought process is, it's not about us. As a recruiter, diversity and inclusion, so many people who look like us I've placed in pharmaceuticals and biotech, was blessed to do it, and it's not about me. And so when I see them 20 years later as a VP, as a director, and I placed them years ago as a sales rep, as a district manager, and they look like me, and they come up to me and say, Felicia, thank God for you. It just makes me cry, because I'm like, that was God's purpose. I was not, to your point, trying to be a recruiter. I was in sales. But it was a God moment. They introduced me to somebody, and I became a recruiter, and it became my life. And HBCU, that's a great education. I worked with the HBCU. So just wanted to say, it's not about us. It's really not. And God's plan is always better than ours.
Yeah.
Always.
I think there's a lot of I guess, points that add to the science of success that's coming out in the conversation. One of the points, I have 3 that I've noted. One is to have a goal, but your goal is defined by your purpose. And your purpose is defined by your values.
Yes.
Without these 3, at least, you definitely, or let's just say this, when it comes to success in our current society, a lot of it is driven by money,
Yes.
which is not necessarily problematic. We all need money for what we do, but usually the goal is money.
Yes.
Money is actually meant to be the means to the end, the means
Sure.
to get you to your goals. But most of the times we jump on the bandwagon and we accidentally end up successful in the sense that we get the money. But since money was the means to the end and we have the money, now we're in chaos.
Yes.
Ah, that's good. Yes.
So we go back to why. What's the what for my success? Which is the goal? What am I trying to achieve? The purpose, which is defined by the values, whether it's, like you said, others first, or we want to build communities so that we can, that's the value that we keep adding, and that value adds purpose, and the purpose gives definition and helps us to reach our goals, which I think all of that is coming out in here. I'm just sharing what I'm hearing. I'm not actually giving anything. This is what I'm taking away.
You can't take that stance.
All right now.
I thought I'd point that out. That
So,
is good.
so, it's difficult for me to sit back and it's not difficult to listen. It's I wanted to run as I'm hearing the feedback from the team, right? And so my path was a little different. Humble beginnings, as I say. Grew up in third world country conditions, but here in Southeast Michigan. Again, I said my role, my title, don't use it much, but Chief Visionary Officer. I am a seer. So from a little boy, I would see things.
Wow.
God would show me, I didn't know why, like I never saw these things physically, tangibly, but I would see things. Well, I was a teenager, and he showed me this notion of United Alliance.
Wow.
I'm first generation college grad. My parents didn't graduate college. What I'm doing now, I saw no one who did it. There was a picture put in my mind that I went after.
That's right.
Wow.
And it took 25 years, well, it's 25 years from that moment. It took 21 years for me to hold on to this vision that I saw, that I had never tangibly. So 21 years, I had to wait and go through the process and not forego this picture in my mind. And what I saw was, whenever I went away from the picture, it was chaos.
Wow.
But the moment, it wasn't even a matter of, I wasn't smart enough to figure this out. So I have a lot of scars from trying to figure out success. There were expectations, there were pressures, I'm looking at other people, I was very old school, I was raised very old school. And in that, grew up around my dad's family, siblings or whatnot. My grandmother had 11, 12 kids, something like that. But everyone stayed primarily in a 5-mile radius, and everybody had a lot of kids. Well, I was one of the youngest of the kids. So my cousins were like siblings, all right? And it was, again, very old school, very traditional. I had to listen to my elders. So if you're a year older than me, you're my elder.
That's right, that's right.
So I lived in a scenario where I had to comply to everything and everyone else around. So now you start absorbing expectations from all of these different places with no say. So now my definition of success was coming from all of these different places. So now I'm chasing, trying to please and figure out and be accepted, and it's not working. But every time I go back inadvertently and follow this picture, stuff started working,
Wow.
right? So, Rod, similar to you, I had this plan. It wasn't my plan, but I wrote it down. So I was talking to a mentor of mine, and she was challenging me. She knew me well. She's like, Dion, what do you want to do? Well, God showed me this picture that I was supposed to be a leader of leaders and provide opportunities that help people find their value and recognize their hope. But me, I didn't recognize my own value, and I didn't have hope.
Wow.
So now I'm supposed to depart to somebody. I'm like, something has to be wrong with this picture because I don't have these things. So how can I give what I don't have, right? And so nevertheless, wrote down my mentor. She's like, what do you want to do? So I just go back to the vision. She's like, I understand, but she said, I'm going to challenge you. She's like, that's too much. Like, people will not be able to receive what you want. It's too many things, right? So she said, she was like, write it down. Well, I drew a picture. I see pictures. I'm a seer. So I drew a picture, right? Turned into this whole framework. And it was funny, while I had the picture, Rod, like you, I was attempting to do these things. And it was stalling out. The moment I put it down, it started happening. And so I called a good friend of mine, Jairus Bone, and I said, Jay, I don't understand. I put the plan down and it started accelerating. He said, because you don't need to see the plan. You are the plan. He's like, you were thinking that you had to do something. It's you. You are the plan, right? So I'm going to go back. I'm going to retract now. I was in college, and I was a collegiate athlete, basketball, but I got hurt in college. So medically retired, too many concussions. Bedridden for 4.5, 5 months, had to learn how to function again. Well, they took my scholarship away. Well, I can't go back home because the conditions at home are dire. So I got to figure it out, right? So working 3 jobs, all this hustling, I'm not going back home. I got to figure this out. But I went to financial aid office and got best friends with Paul Quick, the head of financial affairs. He would make all type of exceptions from me, Mr. Quick. But I was in the office and there was a little poem on the desk. And it was a poem about this man. It was a man's point of view, but he was saying, when I was in elementary school, couldn't wait to get to middle school, high school, college, graduate, get married, get a good job, retire. Next thing I know, he's like, life was over, and I never lived.
Wow.
And I'm like, man.
That's good.
So I'm in college now. I said, man of faith. I'm like, then I heard a stat that the average American, and this was 20 plus years ago, changes their profession every 7 years. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. That's a waste of time. So I'm like, God, just show me my purpose so I can do that now and I don't have to go through all these moves, right? Well, part of my purpose was to go through moves, but needless to say. So I started pursuing purpose very early. Well, my purpose was in this vision, which we're actually sitting in my vision. But nevertheless, back to the point. But what I found was the only true success to us is when you align with purpose. When I say purpose, I mean God-given purpose.
Right.
Right? So like I do deep studies, prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it. But about a week ago, I was studying and I was considering creation. Human beings are the only part of God's creation that are confused about their purpose.
Correct. Wow. Yes,
Everything else in nature that was created
that's right.
operates in purpose.
Yes, it does.
Right? So we talk about science and success. There's so many places we can go, right? Slow my mind down because I get excited talking about this. So I'm going to talk about fulfillment for a moment. Fulfillment. To me, the only way you can reach fulfillment, the goal, like people talk about success. They achieve the success, but they're unhappy.
Correct.
They're miserable. They're empty.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to fulfillment. What people truly desire is not success, it's fulfillment,
Yeah.
Agreed.
right?
Yeah.
So fulfillment to us is when you derive your livelihood, your success from your God-given purpose. It is the only thing that will fulfill you.
That's right.
When you are reliant upon your God-given purpose to sustain you, that to us is fulfillment. The only thing that leads to success is when you connect to your purpose. And I'm talking perpetual success. We set goals and targets and we achieve these things. Aloy said, like, we're the epitome of success in this room. But I've been married and divorced, again, died twice, averaging 90 hours a week for 8.5, 9 years, right? Like, assessed 1,000 companies, was responsible for $21 billion in 34 companies, like all of these, like, on paper, that looks successful, right?
That's correct.
I mean, all type of money. I'm sitting talking to my partner, Brian, and I'm like, B, I don't know how I'm in this room. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the pedigree that the people are sitting around and they're listening to me. And, you know, I made them $1 billion profit. And the list goes, like, wasn't losing or missing accolades. But there was an emptiness. Life wasn't working,
Yeah.
right? It just wasn't working. And so when you find success and your sustenance from your God-given purpose, that is fulfillment.
Agreed.
And so I think about, we go to school, we do all of these things, and what do we seek and chase after? Retirement. We want to escape. That lets you know what you're doing is not your purpose, because you're seeking to escape. A bird doesn't look for the day where it can't fly. When a bird can't fly, it's no longer needed on this earth. Like, that's his purpose, is to fly. A fish the purpose is to swim, right? So, again, we have it all confused. We say, you choose whatever you want to be. And then we wonder why so many people are stressed and unfulfilled and chaotic. It's because nothing else that was created operates that way.
That's correct.
So we talk about slowing things down and to stopping so that we can assess what our purpose truly is. All right? And I'll share a diagram. I'll try to make this quick. It's 3 circles, concentric circles. All right? This is passion. This is purpose. And this is potential. So one of the things that God showed me as part of my purpose is make you leader of leaders, call you to be a leader of leaders. But in that, I'm going to show you the science of things. I'm going to teach you repeatable, I'm talking equations. So he gives me equations of things. So everything we see, we break down the science. And so it's repeatable. Because we can tell you the variables, the elements, and how you then move from one thing to the next. So the 3 Ps, as we call it. So I mentioned at the beginning, passion for life, purpose to serve, potential to create. That's our 3 Ps at United Alliance, all right? Passions oftentimes give you clues to define your purpose, all right? Your potential, for us, potential is one of those words that a lot of people hear, but we don't really know what it means. To us, I'm gonna simplify it. I know we don't have a lot of time. Potential to me is the capability to perform your purpose. Whatever this vision is, within you, you have been given everything you need to fulfill that purpose. That's true potential. Potential is latent, is dormant until you activate it. Right? All right? So, 3 Ps. The beautiful thing about the 3 Ps is right here, where they overlap. That's the sweet spot of life. This is called the center of greatness. This is where we desire to live. Where your passion, purpose, and potential all intersect. And the more, so now when you can define these things, you now have clarity. You can identify where they connect. Everything else, everything outside of this, guess what it is? It's a distraction. So now we can be very clear and deliberate to focus on the one big thing. It's the center of greatness. So again, this is part of our science of success. We have a lot more, but I'm going to sit down and let some other folks come on in.
Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
That's great.
I think they'll want to listen to you because of that voice. I've been meaning to tell you. Even if you were saying pure trash.
Hopefully it wasn't pure trash.
No, it wasn't.
But I
It was
appreciate
good.
that, Carlos.
Man, that's neat. I feel like I'm finding myself floating to that center of greatness ever since the layoff. The purpose piece is there. The passion piece, man, like you said, distraction. That's such a big thing because sometimes we can be so driven by what we're passionate about or something that we want to do that has nothing to do with our purpose.
Right.
And it'll take you away. You'll never be able to get to that level. Yeah, if you just focused on what you're passionate about or your potential or whatever. That diagram reminds me of something one of my mentors told me changed my life. I only had one conversation with this guy. I'm gonna take a quick step back to lead up to how I got in connection with him. I was at a job and I was struggling with some racism. And I felt it was racism even though it wasn't like blatant. Sometimes it's really subtle and hidden, but I could see it. This guy was literally trying to take money out of my pocket. I earned a bonus. A white counterpart literally tried to sneak in the back door and change my name for his so that he could get paid. And the person who was responsible for doing that came to me and said, "Hey, did you approve this?" "No, I did not." He was like, "I don't know why they wanted it." I said, "Okay, don't worry about it. I'll reach out to him," because I knew the guy. Reached out to him, had a conversation. He was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I just want to get paid." And I was like, "Wow, you do realize I get paid for this, right?" He was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." "Okay, you've been working here for 6 years, like me. You've never done this, but you didn't know that. Whatever." He brought his manager in because he felt like I should partake with the money or just let it go or whatever. So I brought my manager in. My manager was new at that time. All 3 of them were white. The guy, both our managers. My manager came to me and said, Well, Rod, I think since you did majority of the work, you should get 2/3 and he should get 1/3.
Wow.
I said, by majority, do you mean all of the work? Because I did it myself. I worked on this deal for the last 6 months. He did nothing. Well, you could have involved him. But I don't have to. What are you talking about? Long story short, I battled this guy forever. And it was turning me into somebody I didn't recognize. So I called one of my old bosses. I said, I need a mentor. I need somebody who's been down these paths that can talk to me about how to navigate this, because I'm about to go crazy. So she connected me with this guy. We had a 2-hour talk, and I will never forget what he said. And I didn't even have to talk to him after that. I understood exactly what I needed to do from that point on. But what he said was, he said, you have to manage your pie. Your pie is your P-I-E. Your P is your performance, your I is your image, and your E is your exposure. He said, you cannot manage 2 and expect to do what you need to do. If you have the right performance and your image is off, people don't see you as who you should be. And he said, your image is not who you are, it's who they perceive you to be. And I was just like, man, that really matters, okay. But he was like, you can have the best image and the best performance with no exposure, and you're gonna be stuck where you are. And he went all around all 3, and it was just so profound how they tap into each other. So this diagram again kind of speaks towards that, because that center of that, when you can manage all 3 and have it together, it's something magical that happens when you kind of tap into that. So last thing I'll say real quick before I stop. Maybe 4 months before I got laid off, I took a day off work. My brain was just overloaded. I had too much going on. I took a day off. That day off was the most relaxing, like stress-free, peaceful, and all I was doing on that day was working my business. And so I actually recorded a social media post about it, and I was just like, man, today was so fulfilling. I use that word. I'm like, I've never felt this way ever. You know what I mean? And I wanted to tap into that more. So from that point on, I always looked at it as an eventual path. I just didn't want to necessarily become an entrepreneur, but that's what God had for me.
You know, the first intimate conversation where you had that, the previous conversation.
Say that again?
He was not, so.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be.
So where you went, we talked about pie
Ah,
at the last intimate conversation.
wow.
Oh, wow.
But, so, again, performance, image, and exposure. But we added 2 more elements to it, all right? C, so it's the word P-I-E-C-E, all right? C is community consciousness or mindedness, and E is empathy.
Wow.
So one thing, so there's a precursor to purpose. And the precursor to purpose is vision. Vision is vitally important, and vision gives way to purpose. Vision is also very effective because vision allows you to develop a stronger belief, the why. But if you don't have vision, your why is not anchored to anything. There has to be some vision that you are then connecting to. The key word of vision is it's not sight. You have to distance yourself or leave the senses alone to operate in vision. So vision is a precursor to purpose, but vision requires belief.
Yeah.
Belief demands action. When you activate the belief, you activate potential. It's funny, the story of the entrepreneurs in the room. So again, we have the word vision. And what was interesting to me is we are all, Carlos, you've mentioned this, I believe, people define success often with money. So they're chasing money, material.
Yes.
But provision, the prefix pro, means before. The provision actually is before the vision.
Correct.
The key is you don't get access to the provision, the before the vision, until you activate the vision. The moment, Keith, you said the moment you started activating your vision, guess what? You then open the door to release the provision. It was already there. So when you operate in purpose, right, the provision for your purpose is already there, Rod. So we were looking at other things now, and I've been there, right? We've been in the spaces where we're like, but I'm doing well. I'm making good money. I'm living a good life. But just like that, something happens, a turn of fate, and it goes away. And we're like, what do we do all this for? But the moment you started surrendering to your purpose, you're like, I'm at peace.
Complete. Yeah.
And not only peace, you look like you're still eating, right? Right?
Sure.
You said you had 3 kids and a wife, right?
Yeah.
I
And she
mean-
don't work, so.
Again, that's testament.
Yeah.
Again, Andrew, we sat outside talking for an hour plus,
Yeah.
right? You're like, all of the adversity you were sharing with me that happened, but you had a vision.
Yeah.
And the people around you, you're like, they didn't see it, but there were people that did. And you said, I could have never done that had it not been for relationships. But you had faith, you had a belief in a vision that led you to your purpose.
You know, I want to add, you know, when you see vision, right, the precursor to that is be, do, have. Because you can see the vision, right, but if you're not willing to become the person, to do the thing that's required to be able to have the vision, then guess what? You're willing to be whoever you need to be, do whatever you need to do to have the vision. And then once you think you got to the point that you saw, you're gonna lose it.
Exactly.
For example, King Saul was the only one in the out of the kings in the Bible that got pointed straight to king. And what happened? He lost his kingdom. Meaning that you have to become the person and be willing to do what you need to do, right? There's a reason why when Moses had the vision, right?
Mhm.
But the Hebrews that he was leading lacked the vision. They kept complaining. That's why 11-day trip turned into 40 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it did.
And you see, when you hone in on what you see and know who you need to become and do what you need to do by shutting out the noise, willing to subdue the things that's internal in you that you can't bring with you to the vision, right? Now, once you have been able to reach that vision, that like the picture in your mind, you're able to sustain it because you have became the person for that vision. Because usually, when you see the vision, you're not ready yet. You have to become the person for it.
Yeah.
And you have to understand, and you have to go through the journey to understand what you have to do, right, to get there, right? You know what I'm saying? So when it hits you, oh, it's not. But it's be, do, have. But when you want to skip around, when you want to skip the be and do, then you think you'll think you'll have it, but you're gonna lose it, right? And that's the thing that I have to realize, and that's the thing I have to really understand about. You have to become the person, because we all have potential, but you have to become the person for that vision. Do the thing that's required for that vision, because the thing that you do will help you sustain the vision once you get there, so you don't lose it. So you don't lose because when you're operating the Lord's purpose, it's a byproduct you're going to serve people. It's a byproduct you're going to be content, because like you say, you're fulfilled. Contentment, you're fulfilled. Okay? It's a byproduct. See, the Lord works in multiplication. Okay?
Yes.
So meaning that the byproduct of your purpose is multiplication. All right? In terms of the multiplication of your serving. Okay? The multiplication of what you do, being able to shed more light, to be able to inspire more people. It's a domino effect. So that's what the Lord works in multiplication. But the thing about it is that, when you see a tree, you see how big it is, but one thing some people don't understand is, for that tree to be that big, the roots gotta be deep. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? The roots have, the bigger is the tree, the deeper the roots, okay? And the beat you have, that's the roots. That's the roots we have to go through and keep digging. So now when people see, are able to see our vision, right? The fruits of our vision will serve as multiplication, right? And that's where that's where I came to understand the science of like the road to success, the science of it. And you know, another thing in Proverbs 16:7 it said, when a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies be at peace with him. Meaning that when you're walking in purpose and it's pleasing to the Lord, it doesn't matter what nobody says. It don't matter what your enemies say. It don't matter. He will make. Now, will it be? Yeah, it will be. It's going to be hard along the way, but understanding that you're walking in purpose makes enduring the pain a little bit more easier.
That's correct.
You know what I'm saying? So, that's where I have to come to understand, and just be very intentional. Each time before I walk in the room, every time I open my mouth, I say, Lord, allow my tongue to be pleasing to you. Allow my tongue to be pleasing to you, because I don't want to say any word, because words are very powerful. That's a whole other conversation. But the words are very powerful, and got to be very intentional that everything I do, I want it to be pleasing to Him, and meaning that being a representation in the marketplace, being a representation when I open my mouth, being a representation when I'm just driving on the road, okay? Because when you understand that it's about being pleasing. It's about being pleasing to the Lord. Everything else, everything in this world will fall in place. There's nothing that can overtake you. There's no door that the man can close. The door didn't open, and vice versa.
That's right.
And that's just what it is about becoming the person and doing the things that you have to do to be able to correct.
So if that's phenomenal, Andrew. We're at 1:03, so I want to be mindful of people's time. No, you're good. You're good. I'm gonna give a few closing thoughts. Again, there's food there and adjacent to us. We're not putting you all out. This is our office. You can stay as long as you would like to stay. But again, we do want to be respectful of people's time and schedules. So if you have to leave, by all means. So there's a few things. The pie, so I was taught earlier in my career about pie and how to navigate pie. So we talked about that in great depth last intimate conversation. However, pie is self-serving. And so what I learned was, to Andrew's point, whenever God gives you a purpose, Keith, you talked about, you get, but to give to other people, right? Purpose, if it only serves you, that's not God's purpose for you.
That's right.
Purpose is intended to multiply and be shared. So we added the C and the E, the community mindedness. So now, if it's only serving you, that's not purpose.
That's correct.
That's selfishness.
Yes, that's right.
So purpose has to serve
That's right.
something bigger than you.
Yes.
So when we talk about community, this is what we're talking about. Our purpose is to serve greater than ourselves. And then empathy is understanding and having the sensitivity and the awareness of other people. Not looking down or looking sideways at people because we might have been favored for something and they are not, because there was a time when we were like that other person. So that empathy just maintains that community consciousness and the ability to serve. So we've recognized the notion of you cannot serve what you don't value.
That's good.
If you don't value people, you cannot serve them.
Right. That's
So
correct.
empathy puts you in this mindset so you can now value people to ensure you can serve them. That's part of your purpose. So tying it all together. But again, we live in this space. This is who we are. This is what we do. Our business is constructed around this. And we take in truth, biblical principles as parables, and we teach it or deploy it in business. And we say it creates exponential results.
For sure.
It never fails. And so, needless to say, we take seeds, but, and then lastly, when we talk about being, so we say we don't do anything to do, we do to become, right? But if you don't have vision, you won't see what you're supposed to be.
That's correct.
The problem in the secular space is we set goals based upon our sight, not our vision. So we try to do, but the goal, again, question is, are you smarter than a caterpillar? So I believe if you put a mirror in front of a caterpillar, they don't see a caterpillar, they see a butterfly.
I like that one, that's a good one, yeah.
Are you smarter than nature? Are you smarter? So again, if you don't have the right vision, you don't even know what you're supposed to be.
That's correct.
And so when I have clarity on what I'm supposed to be, now my actions mirror, the doing mirror what I'm supposed to be. And so the actions help me reprogram my mind to understand and become one with what I once saw, my vision. So then I can have,
Yeah.
right? The notion of me aligning my vision, my belief, that then is the being, to then start doing the actions associated with that always brings the provision. But we truly appreciate you all taking time out of your schedules to meet. We'll be doing more of this in different forums. It was truly a pleasure and an honor for us to host you. Please eat, please, and again, feel free to converse, and we'll, on the table, Baroness, do you want to share what these are?
Oh, yes, so we're having, an Internal Seekers event May 9th, and so you flip on the back to the QR code, that'll provide you the ability to register. So May 9th from 6 to 8, I believe, is the time slot.
This is dope. Yeah, I want to say, first of all, you know, and I'm your neighbor, so I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me or including me, right? I think it's very powerful. I think the only thought, well, not only, but thought I'll share, why I think this is so impactful is because it's interesting, you actually brushed on it real quick. What I've been noticing in our social dynamic is that DEI
Yeah.
is being tore down.
Yeah.
Totally being dismissed.
And you know, if it's being torn down, and I'm gonna try to be as short as possible with this, right? And I told my wife during when Joe Biden was elected, I told my wife, I looked at the census, and I said, there's gonna be things that's gonna put a group of people in a space that they're gonna be last, because the numbers are showing that other people that have been in power are gonna be last.
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
And so, I said, this is gonna be a strategic movement. We saw Nikki Haley state that, you know, she don't believe in racism. She don't believe the United States is racist. And I actually agree with her. I agree with her because what they've done is systematically separate the United States in class. So what they've done is said, hey, here's a class asset. It's an asset class.
Yeah.
We're not saying that because you're black. We're saying this is the asset class. We treat everybody like this.
Right.
Okay? And why is this so impactful and so important for me, and why I love this, is because, you know, we talk about the Bible, say, many are called, few are chosen.
Yes, sir.
And we ought to go out, and the best way of marketing is word of mouth,
Absolutely.
right? And I think that, you know, we're the only people that ask for rights that we know we have. Okay? The LGBTQ community, they don't, you know, and look, I want to be, again, I want to be sure, we're the only people that ask for rights that we know we have.
That's correct.
And I think that with the people that's in this room, like, so if I could speak freely and say this, the Spirit is telling me that with the people in this room, we're aware enough to share the thoughts that's within this room outside
Yes,
to grow that community,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
right?
that's right.
To expound on that community, to give people, to empower people to be who they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
to empower people to empower people to propel them
Yes.
to that provision,
Absolutely.
right? And I think it's so important today, more than anything. If you look at, my wife, and God bless my wife. My wife I've never been more spiritual since I've been married. I told my wife she's the best version of me. I go to Houston to go to church, and this is my last point. I go to Houston to go to church. I go to Pastor Keon Church, and I'm gonna share with you. Why, and this is my last point. Last year, was probably our worst year in business. We still made out very good. It was our worst year in business. And so in March last year, I lost every single client. Okay, every single client. Now we were well off because we had that first quarter surge, and then we lost every single client, right? And I said to my wife, we were going to church in Florida, and I said to my wife, I'm paying all these tithes. And I said, you said you're paying tithes. And I said, why am I losing my clients? And she goes, because you're not paying 10%.
Giving.
She said, you're not giving, God is not pleased with what you're giving. So I said, I didn't argue with that, right? So I said, well, what about, I don't get credit for what I am giving? So I was like, so she said, well, so she started watching Pastor Keon, right? And after our church, Pastor Keon, obviously being in Texas, they're an hour behind. And, I started watching, I watch clips while I'm in the bathroom getting ready, going to brunch. And I watch clips here and there. And he had a clip where I watched the sermon on Father's Day last year. And it started to convict me, my spirit. And I went back and I said, and then I started paying my 10%, right? And he had, what he said was, men, we have an ultimate responsibility. And we're not fulfilling our responsibility.
Wow.
And because we aren't fulfilling our responsibility, our community is in dire need.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so I felt convicted. So I started paying my 10% and doing it joyfully. Hey, they don't right? 10%. And so my wife said, you seem to like Pastor Keon. I said, yeah, don't pastor. I like it. She said, that's the first time you ever went to church all day and never complained. I said, all right. She said, well, why don't we go to Pastor Keon Church? And I said, as members? I said, yeah, but I know the rules. You got to ask your pastor to be released. So you got to ask the pastor. So my wife did, and she threw me under the bus. And she said, we gonna go to Pastor Keon Church because the husband started paying 10%, and he want to. So we went to Houston. We flew out on Sunday, flew to the congregation. Just so happened it was the anniversary. So this what I'm saying is threefold, right? We went into there was anniversary and there was a visiting pastor. But what he said was, there's a heavy shift that's about to happen. Okay, it's a heavy shift. It's a heavy shift. And I said, and I never stood. I never stayed in church for 2.5 hours. Let me tell you something. I'm 44 years old. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. I've never stayed in church for 2.5 hours. I was happy to stay 2.5 hours, right? And so we flew back to Atlanta, and we became members. And so we fly every month. Once a month, we make sure we're in a congregation. And my wife also goes to this prophet. But the three things I'm saying: one, men and women, we are called to be accountable.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we're called to be accountable for our community.
Yes.
Yes,
And it's showing up,
yes.
is appearing,
Yes,
is looking the part, is watching your words,
yes,
is being slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to anger.
yes.
We're called to be accountable. But we're called to be accountable because our community is in dire straits, because there's a shift
Yes.
that's about to happen. It's going on right now. So with that shift, we're called to put our community back in the place they were, back in the proper order,
Back in the day. Yes,
right? So our kids would be
Yes.
saved.
Yes.
yes.
So our kids could be raised the correct way. So they cannot
Yes.
say they weren't raised without a father. We're starting to identify.
Where's the offering plate? Where's the
And the third thing, it's the word says, how can two walk together unless they agree?
That's it.
You know, I will say this, and if you guys ever meet my wife will tell you, I don't have any friends. And my wife said, why you don't have no friends? And for those from New York, you'll know, when we grew up with our neighborhood. Outside of your neighborhood,
That's it.
you were new money. You were like, I couldn't mess with you. You could do anything. There's no code ethic, right?
Ah,
And spiritually,
Yeah.
that's your neighborhood,
that's right.
right? So again, I'm amongst people who I agree with.
Amen.
I'm amongst and I found how I can expound on that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So I leave here in joy that even if let's say hypothetically speaking, this is my last time coming, which I don't believe it would be, but I'm overjoyed to be a part of this group that this can be talked about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm overjoyed that this can be talked about. I can share this. I can say, hey man, I know this guy named Dion, man, he's profound in the word. I can say, you know, I met so many people that are prolific in these areas, right? And that's something I'm proud of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I can say there's men that look like me that I can say, man, I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
All right, Keith, you gonna take me there. So by definition, I didn't come up with the name, but we lead with our intentions.
Yes.
United Alliance. Our whole mission is to unite and form an alliance.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, that's right.
How many people tell you exactly in our name, a word matters.
Right.
Absolutely. It's to reunite people and to form an alliance.
Yes.
So we can move together. How can two walk together but they agree?
Right.
We're saying you got to unite
Right.
and then form an alliance. There's an old African proverb that says if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. When God created man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. Like, it was community, right? So opposite of this room is our conference room. We call it the atmospheric conference room. And we were just sharing with the team, there's a white piece of paper with all of these words. When God gave me the vision, I call them divine downloads. It's like computer programs, software updates, and I get the whole program, right? But we believe the United Alliance was called to rectify every societal and economic ill plague in the world. Every one. So we have the equation, and we say very simple. We call it the big idea. 4 steps to reimagine. So it's imagine. Imagine, aspire, transform, create. Imagine, aspire, transform, create. Imagine Romans 12:2.
Be transformed.
Be not conformed to this world, to sight, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes, sir.
Right?
That's right. That's what it says.
That you might prove what is that the acceptable will.
Of the Father.
Right? So, I mean, it's built on biblical principles, okay? So that's reimagining, right? So now we're forming a different thought, but it's not just any thought, it's God's original thought,
Correct,
right? We're aligning to God's original thought.
yes.
Now you put action behind that. Now we're doing. So we're recognizing who we are by going back to the original design of what we were created for.
Correct.
We are created to honor God, to give him glory.
That's right.
So nature, every time anything operates in this God-given purpose, it gives God glory.
Every time.
Why are humans different?
Right.
The world is in chaos because man does not operate in accordance to their design or their designer. So the big idea, reimagining. So we're going back. We're getting people to reimagine themselves back in the purpose that God made us for.
Amen.
Aspiring means to align actions to those new formed thoughts. They're really not new thoughts. They were the original thought.
Yes.
We're just taking people back to the original thought,
Yeah.
right? So now we're putting action behind it. That's where change starts to happen, right? You start doing. You do until you become. That's transform.
Yeah.
And so now once you've been transformed, and we say, we believe there's an obligation for us to transform.
Yes.
It's not optional. It's mandatory.
Amen.
Now once you transform, you can finally create. So let me recap this. If you create anything before you've been transformed, you're replicating brokenness.
That's good.
Wow.
So we have an obligation. By God, my obligation is I have to lead people to their transformation. So what we leave this earth with is better than what it was when we came here.
That's right.
Right.
Purpose always answers or provides a solution to something that is broken.
Yes.
We run away from, we don't want to accept what we were called to do.
Yeah.
So we have a quote that says, the things you want most are buried beneath the rubble of what you're unwilling to do.
Yep.
That's correct.
So if you want to find purpose, you got to dig up the things that you don't want to do.
Amen.
Purpose always brings a solution. And so again, our obligation is to transform in order so we can create out of wholeness, not brokenness.
Yes.
You can only give what you are. And so if I don't transform, I talked about value and hope, this and that, right? I go to counseling every week. And I see God every day. I tithe my time, Keith.
That's right.
2 hours, 40 minutes is my target every day, right? And so nevertheless, but it's in the space of once we go back to that original place, earth will operate the way it was intended to.
That's correct.
So, United Alliance, our commission is to solve, to bring the Lord's Prayer, heaven back to earth through us.
Amen.
Matthew 6, 9 through 13.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that is our mission. And I said, you gonna maybe go there, King. So I normally I talk in parables, but you wanted me to come on the carpet. Right? So there you have it. There you have it, brother.
Man, I appreciate it, man. This is profound. Thank you very much.
That's good. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And may I say something?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
As the only woman at the table, I am so proud of all of you
Oh,
Thank you.
for taking the time to invest in yourself and invest in something bigger than you. Because this is bigger than us. United Alliance.
For sure.
My real job is a minister of the gospel. And so, you know, I'm just so proud of all of you because I don't think you hear it enough. And so I'm saying it today.
Thank you.
I just want to say just thank you. What the way how I met Dion, it was only by supernatural sequence of events. Because we met each other when I was literally in the middle of visioning. Literally in the middle of visioning. That's how we crossed paths. I literally pulled over to the dealership to make a vision of the car I'm going to be buying soon, all at once.
I love it.
And we crossed back, and then he pulled in, and I recognized his car because the color caught my attention, but I didn't know the person inside the car, but I just saw the color of the car. So I was just, walking the dealership, I said, yeah, I said, God, I'm getting that one, get that one. That's just what I do, you know. So I said, yeah, I'm gonna get that one, that one, that one. So when the representatives at the dealership asked me if I needed help, I said, no, I'm just here for motivation. So they were like, okay. So I was like, okay, cool. So I walked, so I just went to each car, so I'm gonna get this one, all right, yeah, cool. That one should still be here by the time I'm ready. Yeah, this one. So then I was leaving, on my way out, I saw him, but I saw him with his sons. And that really got my attention. I said, wow, you know, I said, that's nice to see, you know what I'm saying? And I said, oh, that might be the guy in that car. So I said, you know, let me just tell him, you know, give him a compliment, just give you a compliment. Your car, the color is nice. So I said, hey man, you know, that's a nice wrap. I assumed the car was wrapped. And he said, oh no, it's painted, right? I said, oh, that's so nice. And then that just struck up a whole, that led to here. That,
Wow.
So one moment.
that's it.
Yeah.
That interaction, and it started, and I went to just compliment him.
Yeah.
That's it. Just give a compliment, you know, and then his response, and then, but it was all set up. Like
Always.
it wasn't like it's wow, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just so thankful to be here and just, you know, the Lord knows that I want to be more in a space to where of like-minded individuals, especially that represent the kingdom in the marketplace.
Yes.
And I'm just happy to be here. So thank you, Dion, for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and for everyone. I mean, it truly is an honor. I'm amazed every time I get close to this building, because your site is based off of my vision, right? I mean, that says a lot, right? But in that space, you know, we stand on the shoulders of giants. And so as we talk about seeding for those around us and building community, think about how impactful it is when what was vision for us becomes sight for other people.
Yes.
And we now give them inspiration and hope of what's possible.
That's right.
But they can tap into people that have persevered and been focused and committed and who've accepted the purpose and the call. We now give other people the license to do the same. And so it truly is an honor. I know we all have very busy schedules, so that the fact that you take time out of your day to come and be with us, you know, truly appreciate it. I think we have your information, so we'll, if you don't mind, we'll keep you updated on the various events. But for us, it's about how do we expand our influence, how do we expand the community. Again, and it's not to highlight us, it's to highlight him,
That's right.
right? And we talk about what's our method of education, Aloye?
In terms of, it's apprenticeship, so it's not just about doing,
It's apprenticeship is discipleship.
Yes,
So that's why I talked earlier about the shared accountability. We show people. Go ye therefore, Matthew 28:19, 20. Go ye therefore and teach. Right? Like, we show people, we demonstrate, right? So you think back, vocations have been lost. We try to learn things intellectually versus in our heart. Apprenticeship is putting it in your heart and living out of your heart. Vision exists only in your heart. It doesn't exist in your mind, right? And in your brain, so to speak. But the Bible, when it talks about the mind, is talking about your heart, right? That's where everything that God and the way he communicates is through our heart. So we live out of that. And so our mission, we say, is to think big, live loud, right? Think God thoughts is what we're saying.
Yeah.
And then have the faith to live them out. We're going to show people through apprenticeship how to live it out. So we say dream big. Dream. Again, if I can do it, it's not from God. It's not big enough. So we force people in that uncomfortable space to now dream. And God said, I'm gonna show people through you how to do it. So, you know, that's us, but I'm gonna be quiet, I'm gonna turn my mic off. Please eat, please, get some food to go or so, whatever the case might be.